What's up, y'all? It's your homeboy from another story. I don't know. I didn't know where I was going with that. I was just jumping on and saying, "What's up?" It's the Black Friday show, and it's BJ Joyce hitting y'all up once again. I got my man Kelyn Lanier on with us, and we are going to get everything set up here on Facebook, YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Because the more that I get subscribers, the more that this goes all over the world and goes viral. And then everybody gets to participate in Black economic uprising. I mean, uplift. Yes, all that fun stuff. What's up, Kelyn? How you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just bear with me real quick while I throw this into 33,000 people in the Facebook group, Colorado Black owned and operated businesses. You know how we do out here, y'all. We're trying to make sure that we connect up with as many people as possible in the state of Colorado and get Black businesses supported all over this great state of ours. Speaking of great state, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is the politicians of Colorado, the politicians of America as well, and how they fail us as citizens, but more importantly, how they continue to fail us as Black people. Give me just one more second. I'm gonna get this out to everyone within Facebook group. Again, y'all share the video, subscribe to the Black Friday show page on Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let's go. All right, Kelyn, what's up, man? Welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, before we jump into all that fun stuff, check this out. Business owners. So that OEdit program is still going on with the state of Colorado that Kelyn and some other business consultants are working through and helping you all to get this financing that you need to expand your business. Matter of fact, while we're on the subject, let me throw that link in the chat. It takes about 60 seconds to fill out this link, okay? You fill this, huh?
Sorry.
Phone. Phone. I was like, what? You fill out this form. They'll get in contact with you about your business and give you free help, free consulting help for your business. It's that technical assistance to help you get right so that you can then go to these banks and get the funding that you need to expand your business, to grow it, to add people, to bring in equipment, technology, whatever that is. All right. Now, they won't just help you and consult you to get there. They'll also hold your hand through the entire loan receiving process. All right. From start all the way till funds are in your bank. So make sure you take advantage of this free program. Please do so. It's through a program that our taxes are already paying for. So might as well get your tax money back, right? So take advantage of this free program. It's through OEdit. Kelyn and the great folks within his organization are standing by basically to help you and help your business. All right, Black folks, you keep saying that nothing ever happens for us. Well, take advantage of the stuff when it does. This is one of the things specifically for Black owned businesses. And, you know, they throw in all these other businesses because we can't never get anything carved out specifically for us. But this is for us. All right. So there's that. One other announcement. We got this golf tournament coming up for the Black Economic Success Trust. I need y'all to go ahead and get registered for that. Black businesses, if you are looking to spread the news about your business, to advertise, to market, whatever that is, so that people know that you exist, we need you to get some sponsorships. So sponsor, get registered as a golfer and a golf foursome. If you can, you know, get a couple of friends together, do that. Make sure you do so. There's the link there for that. And then we also have the Black Economic Success Trust Summit. Oh, wait. The golf tournament's coming up June 5th, by the way. The summit is June 6th, and we need you guys to get signed up for that. Come on out, participate in this economic summit for Black people, for Black businesses. Kelyn's probably going to be there. You can meet him in person. He's 6'8". He's a giant of a man. If you never know what it looks like to stand next to a 6'8" person, you can come. You can take pictures. It's great. You just look up and you're like, how's the air up there? Yeah, it's very thin. But Get plugged into the Economic Success Trust Summit, the Black Economic Success Trust Summit, all right, on the 6th of June, right after the golf tournament that you're going to participate in, Black business owners. Be a vendor there, okay? You can have a vendor booth and you can sell and get people signed up to your business, your services, all that good stuff. Anyway, all right, that's enough for the announcements. Kelyn, let's talk about these politicians. What's going on? What's on your mind? And what can we do as Black people to be better and to get them to do what we need them to do?
I had a real temptation there to bring back the 2001s. So what's going on? What's going on? I think the core of a lot of this is complacency. And you have this confluence of complacency and power, right? So people are complacent. They may feel demoralized, or they don't know how to access, their local legal system, political system. And you have people that have gained a lot of power from that complacency, that pretty much use that as their currency to do whatever they want, or I think is more the case here, whatever other people want that are, paying them either mostly indirectly, or sometimes, unfortunately, directly.
Give an example of that, because you're in pundit speak, and most of our most of our audience doesn't do pundit speak. They don't like the CNNs, they don't like the Fox News. Get it to them real, man. Talk to them like you in the street. Like, look, this how they hood.
So what's happening is you have lobbyists who are paid to be at the Capitol or wherever in front of these politicians that are backed by, these multi-million, sometimes billion-dollar entities, whether that's people or businesses.
Let me pause you right here. Let's talk about what a lobbyist is, because I think people think oh, lobbyist, but they really don't know what a lobbyist is. Yeah. Talk about what a lobbyist is, what their specific role is, and then go forward with from there. So educate the people while we at.
I think that lobbying isn't inherently bad. What you may hear is always that, the lobbyists, blah, 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 blah. And it's just a bad word.
Right.
So lobbying is simply advocating on behalf of a group of people or an entity to a politician or like a city council or something like that.
Right.
So it is
these
saying,
guys go up to the guys or gals. They go up to the Capitol, to the politicians, and they're the ones who are paid to be in their ear talking about whatever it is, whatever interest they're representing.
Yes. Right? So the majority of the bills that we have here are written by lobbyists or lobbying.
Hey, wait, what?
Yes.
Written by the lobbyists? You mean the politicians aren't coming up with these bills on their own for the benefit of the people? Other interest groups are coming up with the laws and giving them to the politicians? Say it isn't so.
Well, I mean, simple math, right? So we have around 600 bills, and how many elected officials? 100 and what?
100 and something, yeah.
Yeah. So if you do the math, when do they have time to write those bills? In the off season when they're not paid, they're usually talking to their constituents, something like that. So what happens is these lobbyists, you have some, not all, not every single one of them. They'll have a whole kind of research and legislative writing arm behind them, and they'll be in their private entity mode writing whatever the bills are. And then that lobbyist job is to get that in front of that politician and make the case for that bill. And if they're successful, then that politician may add some stuff. They may, I think is more often the case here in Colorado, not read it and just say, I agree with the principle of it, and then I'll read it later, sort of thing.
100 members, 35 of the Senate and 65 of the House of Reps.
Yep. So, So we got some screwy stuff going on here.
So let me ask this then. So just what we're talking about in terms of bills coming to fruition within the state of Colorado, and this is probably everywhere. But we'll focus on Colorado for now, since this is where we're at. So bills coming to fruition, the politicians aren't coming up with this. Special interest groups are coming in, whatever they are, and they could be good, they could be bad, right?
Yep.
Could be. Like
Yep.
we don't know until it finally gets there.
Mm-hmm.
But our politicians aren't really coming up with this stuff. It's businesses, typically larger organizations that have money to pay somebody to go sit in front of, Senator such and such or House Rep so and so and say, we think this would be great for the citizens of Colorado.
Yep.
Because this. And here's what you should do in order to put this through whatever committee that they're on, whether that's business, whether that's, I don't know, all the stupid committees, but like, infrastructure, whatever has to do with infrastructure and all that stuff. Like here's these, here's these bills. And then we highly suggest that you start putting those through your committee, and then after committee they come out and you vote on those and make them laws. And we've specifically written the language in which it will benefit us. I mean, the people of Colorado, right? And that's what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, half the time they're not even from the state, but
right. Yeah. So you have people from outside of the state that are doing this our state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Continue.
So I think the story there is it's a double-edged sword. So it sounds bad because it's like, wow, we don't even have agency in our own state. However, that means that we also have a shot at doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If these are just regular people that are coming up there, we could do that too.
But they're not just regular people. Are they?
Well, not all the time. Sometimes they're just extremely rich, and they utilize that money to make their argument for a bill much more persuasive than what the text of the bill is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Money talks, right?
Yep.
Right. And that's one of the things I keep preaching to y'all. I mean, I hate to use the word preaching. I mean, I don't really say it's preaching, but trying to influence, trying to communicate, try to tell everybody out here is that it doesn't matter what your vote is. It matters how much money you give. Okay. So if you can buy you a lobbyist, think about this, right? Kelyn, you follow me on this. Yeah. If Black people said, hey, look, we want something for us. We want, I don't know, reparations, hypothetically. Right? Or whatever that is. We want this this history thing that they're looking into for reparations, so to speak, right? We want all that stuff to go through. We really want this to happen. Or we want this other thing, whatever it is. Black people get together and say, hey, we want this. Well, what's our lobbying entity? We don't have one. So create a lobbying entity, right? But in terms of an entity to go and do this and somebody to do that, they have to be paid for this. They need they can't do this as volunteer work. That's not how lobbying works. Like you need a paid person to go and sit there all day, every day and bug the heck out of these politicians to get them to do what we want. Well, if we don't fund that entity, it's never going to exist. So what we have to do, create that entity. We have to give money. Yes, you have to give money to these things. We have to pay for the lobbyist to go and do that. And then we have to pay for the lawyers to craft the language in the bills that we want, right? And then we have to pay the politicians on the back end in either their foundations or their campaigns or both in some way to kind of grease the wheels, so to speak, of them taking on the bill that we want for us. And then that bill goes through committee, they push for it, they fight back and forth. There's people, we don't want to do that. And so therefore we got to go to those politicians and we got to agree some things with money. So where does that money come from? It has to come from us. But where do we get the money from? We either have to be employed and have some good money that we're then, donating to these causes. We have to have businesses that are getting tax write-offs or whatever. And I don't even think you can get a tax write-off for some of this stuff, the lobbying issue. But you got to donate into this entity. And so we have to buy the changes that we want. And that's my personal view. But Kelyn, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes we fell for, well, maybe not fell for, but we believed in civics up to the end of Schoolhouse Rock,
Mm,
right? So
I'm
we
just
know at least that much in general.
yeah
I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill.
on
What
Capitol.
the bill, yeah, didn't what they didn't say is like you got to pay for that bill too.
Yeah.
And it's been that way for a while. And I think that's another reason why we're so behind as a community is because we just went Schoolhouse Rock and didn't do college campus rock, and real
Was it
world.
that we were naive? Were we naive to think that they were going to just like all like the system is supposed to work for the benefit of the people and that there's no other alternatives and things that are going to happen, and we just believed in the benevolence of the politician in which it stands under the flag of Colorado and also the United States at large. Were we just so naive, and is the American populace just so naive to think that there's nothing else except for they're there for the people and they truly care and nothing else is happening? Is that what it is?
I would say maybe 50%, and some of that is just really good marketing. It's very effective marketing and on the verge of manipulation. Because
Hmm.
I think, especially in our music, we hear this message all the time, like, don't trust them, there's more to it, and then you're so encouraged to just believe in the process, trust the process. So it's this battle of mimetics, really, like you have this school of thought and then you have this other school of thought, and there's so much pressure
Mm.
to believe the glorification one and not the one that is so easily written off as like conspiracy theory. Even
Mm.
though I would encourage everybody to just go up there and just watch. That's all you have to do. Just go to the state house, sit on a bench, and you'll be like, oh, I see. It's very blatant.
Mm.
This isn't. You don't have to be an investigative journalist. You need like $20 for parking, or just find some, street parking, and there you go.
Right.
It's very accessible to see this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think again, there's hope in that. That I just painted this huge insurmountable picture, but there's hope that, okay, well, we can get somebody to go up there. Half the time I'm up there, I just don't have anybody behind me.
Yeah.
It's just me because I care. And it's not all dismal. We do have some politicians that do write their own bill. The Black History Bill, so House Bill 251149. That one was written here, and that's a homegrown one, and that one actually helps us.
Mm.
So I would encourage everybody to support that one. It actually just passed out of the House and it's on to the Senate now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What
Yep.
about what about behind the scenes though, right?
Mhm.
What, like there's more to it even than the funding of money. There's things that happen. I mean, for instance, there are people that within the politics of the politics that they have their own personal agendas of whose back they want to scratch and where they're trying to go and the things that are either make sense or don't make sense. And there's all the shadowy stuff that even
Mhm.
even the money doesn't necessarily touch. In general, it's more of like the egos and the personal agendas and stuff like that. Talk about that and what you've seen or what you've heard and
Ooh.
experienced thus far.
You know, that's a touchy one.
I know.
I know. Ooh, man, you try to get me disappeared, huh?
Nah,
So,
they ain't gonna do nothing to you until you become a real threat. We'll get you there though.
you know, I I I think that a lot of that can be addressed through just high visibility.
Yeah.
But what happens is you have these cliques that form. you know, and you would expect this in any workplace, and that's how you have to treat that place. It's a workplace. You have, I'm just gonna make up some names. You have Linda that doesn't like Sharon because Sharon wore blue shoes when she did, like, really stuff like that. And then you have old grudges. And then you have people that went into office with a chip on their shoulder and all of this stuff. So you have politics, and then you have the politics within the politics that influence the politics that we see.
Right.
You know, and this has been responsible for a lot of disservice to the Black community as well, because even, you know, so we have this whole vote blue no matter who kind of mantra, right?
Which is so weird.
That blue, if you go there, doesn't like you. So to keep the rhyme going,
blue don't like you.
Yeah, vote blue no matter who, but that blue doesn't like you.
Right.
You know, that doesn't mean the red does either. It just means that we're stuck, you know, because, you know, there's one Black serving bill that's looking like it's going to pass. There were 5 in a supermajority introduced. What does that tell you?
So
that, you know,
really care?
Yeah, so supermajority means that it was all Democrats. You know, the people that are like, we love you, people. Right. Yeah, them. So
the ones that I don't want to say we, because I hate, especially with this. Like I will lump myself in together. I will say the majority of Black people voted for it, because I don't vote for blue, red. I vote for I personally, I'm an American, and I vote for the best candidate that I feel should be there when I do vote, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to take myself out of the we, and I'm going to say the majority of you Black people voted for these Democrats in here, right? Who are supposed to be for you, and they didn't do anything for you. Yeah, that's what you're saying?
They're 1/5 there for you.
1/5.
It's convenient.
Oh, but wait, we were at least 3/5 a person back in the day. We couldn't even get 3/5. We got 1/5 now. We're losing ground, people, to the blues.
Yeah. You know, you also have just the, you know, so you have the electeds and then you have the aides. So I've noticed this as well, that a lot of the electeds will actually go after the aides of those Black politicians. And it's really sad, because, like, when I go, the aides are like, they're the cool people. Like, they're the ones.
Go after them? Like, how?
Just whatever they can do to get them fired, because they can get fired. Oh, they can get fired. It's a lot harder to fire an elected official.
Yeah. So they go after their staff to try to get them fired.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's dirty.
And it's just sneaky stuff. And it's, you know, it's things that don't make sense that we've probably all seen in our own workplace. You know, the Karenism. You know, so you have all of this stuff happening. And then you have people that are just unfortunately self-serving. You know, I'm not afraid to say it. My district, my House district, you know, my rep is not for us, even though he is one of us.
and wait, you mean all skin folk ain't kinfolk?
No.
What? Oh my God.
You know, and I think that's why it's so important to help build up that pipeline, so that when we get a bad apple, we can replace them without feeling bad. You know, because right now there's just so much pressure. You know, there's only 6, 7, I think, black electeds, or just politicians. Not all, some of them were appointment. You know, but that's a 7 out of 100. You know,
percentage-wise in the state, that's actually better, because we're only 4% of the state. So we're actually doing pretty good, right? People would say that.
People would say that until you look at the influence that's exerted on them. So it actually works against us, because we're like 4 or 6% of the population, 7% in, you know, in our state house. However, that 7%, there's only like 2. Right. You know, and then the rest are weaponized against those 2.
Wow. So what? But wait a minute.
We're like,
don't we have the Black Caucus? Isn't the Black Caucus supposed to be for Black people and be doing stuff?
I would encourage everybody to reach out to the Black Caucus and try and schedule something, and you'll see. Wow. You know, so, you know, they need to see that our community's there and we actually care about us.
Yeah.
Right now, I think they've been cohesive on one thing, which is the Black History bill. And by cohesive, at least in the House, they all stood up there together.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they do, and I try and find out, and it's just, no pun intended, it's a black hole. Like, I don't know what happens.
Well, and also what I find very disturbing about the Black Caucus here in Colorado, I don't know how it is in other states, is that you go to their website, y'all can go there. One, it's not secure, so that's concerning. It specifically says this is not a secure website on Google, so they need to tighten that up a little bit. Come on, guys, like, for real, like, if we're gonna do these things, we got to do them right. So get the security. It's the HTTPS is what you need. Okay, I think they just had the HTTP. All that to say, so that's already kind of just like, like looks. This is pun intended. Black eye on the Black Caucus here, but their headline is and this is what they say. They're the Black Democratic Legislative Caucus of Colorado. Welcome to the Black Democratic Legislative Caucus of Colorado. Now, you could give them the benefit of the doubt and say Democratic in terms of the democratic process. However, this, we know, is a dog whistle, so to speak, to the Democratic Party, to the Democrats, not of all inclusive, because there's Black people out there that aren't Democrats. There's like me. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican either. I'm an American, right? So this is kind of like already,
it's alienating.
Alienating for me and for others who aren't Democrats.
Yeah, if you look at voter history and just the partisanship, you're more likely statistically to be unaffiliated as a Black person than you are, to belong to a different party.
Yeah.
At least in this state, where Colorado is still, even though I feel like the state houses and a lot of the politics have been hijacked, when you look at the numbers, they tell a completely different story.
Yeah.
So it's not even about my preference. It's just looking at the numbers. So 44 to 47%, depending on where you're looking, unaffiliated. They have a propensity to vote almost exactly down the middle within the unaffiliated ranks. So it still is a little bit more blue, but people don't really espouse that value before they look. So by having the Democratic in front of it, for me, it signals the same thing. Like, we don't want you,
right.
Right. We only want people that are going to do what the Democratic Party tells us to, because that's kind of what they do, unfortunately. Because I don't know where their funding comes from. I don't know where their actual.
You mean the Black Caucus funding?
Yeah.
I don't think they have any, because they don't even have a secure website. So I'm just gonna say,
So all of this to say,
I ain't throwing shade at my people, but I'm just like, listen, bro, like, come on, man, like, we can't be doing this. So
and I know it feels like we're like bashing, but the thing is, like, these are very simple fixes. These are not like some of the problems that you attempt to solve in the show, where it's like, this is going to take generations. This does not take generations to fix.
No.
This takes like an election cycle.
If that.
Yeah. If that.
You could do it right now.
Yeah.
We still got how many more weeks in this session? We could still do some stuff.
Yeah. But these are things that, you can use your business to fund. You can come to them and say, hey, I'm going to write you a check, but you got to take that Democratic off, because we need all of us, not just some of us.
Yeah.
You do that.
If you can get an appointment, though, right?
Yeah, if you can get an appointment. Sometimes you might just have to make your own appointment. They meet on Thursdays, by the way.
They meet on
Thursdays in the AM.
Oh, Thursday morning. So if you where Thursday in the morning?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I virtually, who knows?
Okay, but they do meet Thursday mornings.
They meet Thursdays.
All right.
So those people belonging to that are somewhere in the state house in this meeting. So go find them.
Gotcha. So if we could even get the black folks who are part of the Black Caucus to finally come together and do something and be unified for black people first. Like, yes, I understand they represent the constituent, and this is a freaking cop out that black politicians have been doing, because white politicians don't say that.
Yeah.
They're not like, we represent all people in our constituency, but then they only do stuff for white people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could be like, we represent all people in our constituency, but then just do stuff for black people. That's all we're asking. Come on, like, play the game. Stop doing for other people. But if we can get them to be black first, right? Yep. Serving black people as the Black Caucus and black representatives, right? And senators, and all 7 of them. If we can get them together, right? Maybe we can get some more at some point. I don't know. But if we can get them together and focus at least on serving us first, like put black folk needs ahead of, Karen's needs. That's all I'm saying. Just put if it's being decided and you got Karen stuff and you got black folk stuff, go with black folk stuff. Just go.
Yeah.
They still need additional support because there's 7 of them against the other 93 that make up the rest of the Senate and the House reps. And they not only do they need support from the black people, but they need support from white people too. And they need financial support. They need financial support for their staff to be able to, do these, like, all these legislative things that they don't get because our black politicians are not independently wealthy. They don't have businesses and stuff that they've come from and legacy wealth that they can just go and sit. They're getting, a senator's getting $42,500.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of y'all make more than our state senators. Teachers are making more than state senators in some cases. In some cases, they're not, unfortunately. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, they don't get paid much. They don't have a financial backing. Just like as we try to go into business, we don't have a lot of financial backing. So they need that from us to go and fight for the things for us, even if we do get them together and fight for us. And they also need stuff. Their peers who they got to fight with, they need some grease too to support the black folks. So this is going to cost us money. Yep. Where do we get the money then?
It's going to cost us money. It's going to cost us time.
Time, yeah. Time and money. Where do we get it?
Where do we get it? I think right now it's just micro transactions. That's the most tangible thing now.
Unpack that.
If you can give $1, give $1. I think that there should be some breaks on that. I think, there's easy ways. There are very easy ways to set up committees. You can set up a committee through the Secretary of State and then the elections. That's actually through Colorado elections.
Unpack a committee. What's a committee?
A committee, in this case, would just be a single entity. It's not really like a band of people like you think of. It's just think of it like an election business sort of thing. And you would donate money to that, and then they would be able to put that towards that specific cause. They have to state a cause, and then they have to only go towards that cause. So that's the security that the citizen gets.
So let's unpack this for people so that they can understand this, because I like to educate, right? We talk a lot of things, and some people just don't know what that is. So I want to educate. So if you and I were like, hey, look, we want, I'm just going to say reparations. I'm wearing the Denver Black reparations.
Yeah, you can do an issues committee for reparations.
So that's so let's talk about that. Me and you want reparations. We're going to create a committee specifically targeting a reparations bill. Okay, so that we want to be done. So me and you, we file with the state, right? And to create this entity. Is it difficult? Is it hard? Or is it just a little paperwork?
Yep. Barely a little paperwork.
Okay. So barely a little paperwork.
Yeah.
Right. A couple signatures and we're probably done.
Yeah.
And then we go and tell people, hey, look, this is the cause that we're pushing. Can you give money to us so that we can push that cause with the legislature, right? With all the politicians. And then we raise, I don't know, $1 million. And then we take that $1 million and then we start going and being like, hey, Senator, boom, here's into your campaign. You can only put max how much into a campaign from a committee, do you know?
It depends. There's a whole rule set of elections. So it depends on the type of committee. So you can go issues committees have a little bit more leeway because they're not attacking a lot of stuff. You can do independent expenditure committees that can't coordinate with candidates. They just have to have their back or not have their back. You can do candidate committees. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it, and each one has its own set of rules. You can set up multiple, so you can do like the swarm method and have an independent issue, a candidate one, and then like an overarching entity. I think it's like a 507 or something like that. I don't want to get too technical, but you could do that because it's very easy to set them up. Like to set up those three takes around 3 minutes, so 9 minutes to set up three.
There you go. And so then now we're giving money to the politicians. And let's be real about this. Like, I want to be completely transparent about the situation. And Kelyn, you can bow out of this. I'm speaking for me, BJ. The way I see it, you can give so much amount to a politician to their campaign under the legal means, okay? Right? Which like per campaign regulations, all that stuff. So you can give so much there, right? But how these politicians get more money, and I can't say for certain because I don't know, but what I can observe and what my guess is, this is my educated guess, is they are tied to either a foundation. They either have a foundation somewhere, they have a nonprofit that they run or are a part of, or their spouse or cousin has a nonprofit, whatever, that they might be an employee of in some way. And what happens is that these lobbyists, and I'm just going to say it right now, in this lobbying scenario, we have this committee, we're going to give $250,000 to that foundation that they are an employee of and be like, look, we need this bill to go through. And then we do that for not just the black politicians, we do that for their peers too. And they ain't necessarily going to be $250,000, but hey, it might be, 10,000 here, 10,000 to you, 15 to you, you're being like kind of grimy over here. So we don't like you. So we'll go around you. And then we'll give you maybe 1,000 because you suck. But hey, here's 1,000, wink, wink, nod, nod. And then the other person, here's, 8,000, whatever. And you spread the love and you be like, here's the bill. And they finally are like, all right, cool. And bill goes through, done. Right. And now we've done the business of politics.
Yep. That is
black people.
Yeah, that is the business of politics. And if you ever question it, Tracer is where you look to see who gets paid what. And you'll see, like, you said what, 42,000 something?
Yeah, $42,500.
Yeah. So then you have to ask yourself, then why are people like Representative Lorena Garcia making $400,000 a year?
What?
And that's weird, right?
How is that possible? What is she doing?
through a nonprofit consistently, the same number.
What?
So it happens and it's out there to see. It's just, again, going back to the beginning here, complacency. You don't look, so you don't see.
Right.
So there are ways, and there are tangible ways for where we are right now. I think that we should really start being producers and use that money to buy political power, because as slimy as it sounds, that's how it works. And that is why we're in the situation, because we don't buy anything. We don't, we're buying Jordans. If you took the Jordan money and put it into a committee, you would be in a much better position to buy more Jordans.
But the Jordans are so much cooler on my feet, bro. Like, have you ever worn a pair of Jordans? They're so comfy. It's like walking on pillows. Oh my gosh. And then I got them, and that dude over there, he doesn't. So I get to stun on that dude, and I feel good about myself because I got $250 worth of shoes on my feet, and he don't. You see how important that is to my life? You don't even know, homie. You don't even know. It's so important to my life.
I would
Meanwhile,
much rather have a $250 investment in a politician that I can hit up and say, hey, don't do this bill because it affects my bottom line.
listen though, man, the ladies like the Jordans. They don't really care. But the ladies like the Jordans, I think they do anyway, on my feet. They go with my fit. My skinny jeans that are all ripped up. And then when I'm not wearing Jordans, I need a pair of slides. That's what I need. You feel me, homie? You don't even know. It's about how I look, not about any substance that I can gain out of life. What?
Yeah.
Come
Unfortunately, sometimes we're there, and not. I know that was more of a caricature, but even in our business, we could do so much better with business if we bought some political power.
Dude, tell me more, Kelyn. Tell me more.
Well, where does a lot of funding? We always hear this term that I hate, that there's grants out there. Where does it come from?
It's got to come from some
taxpayer dollars. Who authorizes that? Why are we authorizing more for us?
Yeah, right? Why don't we authorize more? Well, there's this clause in the Colorado State Constitution that says we can't carve out specific things for specific groups now.
Yeah, but it happens all the time nonetheless. If you can pass a bill that's not supposed to be passed because it's unconstitutional, you can pass something for us. That does help.
Ooh, like what, Kelyn? What would we get? What could we get?
What could we get?
How could we get it?
Yeah.
Well, how could we write it?
How could we write it? Well, get you a committee. That's the new thing. Not get you an LLC. Get you a committee. Get you a politician. That's what we need to start pushing. Get you a politician.
Right. So when do we get people together to start building these committees and showing them how to build it and talk about the issues matter of fact, I mean, that's the easy part. When do we get Black people together to figure out what the heck we actually want? Which for me is more money for Black people, because we play an economic game, as we've broken down that this is all about money anyway. So we play an economic game. So how do we get more money and resources for Black people?
That's a good one. I think that's like the $1 million question. How do you get us together to decide? I think there's stuff like BEST.
The Black Economic Success Trust Summit? Mm-hmm. You mean that's coming up on June 6th?
Yep. You have some touch points, and we really need to make those touch points more accessible. And it's not going to be one thing that we want. No. So it doesn't have to be some grand event. But we can vote with our wallet. Like I said, get you a committee. Whichever one is out there, then that's obviously what we want. If one is getting $30K and the other one got $5, we probably don't want the $5 one. Mm-hmm. So we could do it that way too. That way it's not like, how do we get everybody in the room? It's just, hey, everybody gave money to this one.
Yeah.
And we're going to go with that one. Yeah. Like right now, I formed a committee. It's called Mountain State Civil Rights Watch, because we have a lot of civil rights violations going on at the state level. And yes, at the federal level, I'm focused on the state. That's the committee I'm pushing, to try and get some stuff that's actually right for us, because the stuff that I saw just wasn't that's not okay. Yeah. And we also have to realize it's not always about buying a politician. Sometimes it's about getting them out of office, because they're not the right fit. And we have to treat this like the business of politics. You don't keep an employee that works against the interests of the body. You fire them. And there are ways to do that. And they're called
recalls.
Yeah, there's recalls, there's primaries, there's general elections. You have 3 shots. And there's, I think a lot of people just kind of just go at, they get all frothed up. There's a math behind this. There is a science behind it. And luckily I'm a math and science guy.
Yeah.
And, so we have some pretty hardcore data science behind it to influence this stuff. So, we have people in our communities that can help ease that. So
Yeah.
the dollar there will go probably as far as $100 somewhere else that doesn't have the math behind it to target correctly.
Right. So what do we need to do then, Kelyn? Like what's the process? How do we organize in order to start this thing going? I mean, yeah, we have the Black Economic Success Trust, but there's nothing going on at the summit right now for this kind of conversation. Is that where we start? Do we start there? We talk to Carla and say next year we need to have a conversation about politics and business and how we build, and we need to bring in all these different parties and people to have this conversation? Or is there some other way to do that?
There are many ways. I think that that's a good one because it's just like bam in your face, and it hits a lot of people that have influence in the community. Like I said, you can decentralize it as well. You can have all of these different committees and just give people an abundance of choice, and then you'll reach, I think, eventually a greater subset of our community that way. So I would say all of the above, because right now we're doing nothing. We're not doing anything. You can count the number of Black people up at the Capitol. Matter of fact, when I started being up there a lot, I got questions like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here."
Wow.
So
they're like,
doing nothing.
Black people aren't supposed to be here asking questions.
Yeah. Nope.
That narrative needs to change. We need more Black people up there asking questions.
Yeah.
We do. Now, but the thing is, we got to work. Well, not everybody has that time flexibility to do those kinds of things, which again goes back to the point of we have to fund the entity that can pay people that look like us and represent our interests to be up there, because we can't be there. So instead of buying those Jordans, it's cool. You can only wear one pair of Jordans at a time anyway, right? So get you 2 and you don't get you 50, right? Get you 2, you can rotate and then give the rest into things that are going to actually uplift your life, and for not only today, but for your kids and their kids and so on and so forth for Black people. So when you look back and you're like, hey, Black people like to get bold and be like, man, if I was back then when they were doing all this civil rights stuff and blah, 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 I would be doing this and I'd be doing that. Well, what are you doing today? Because all this stuff is happening to us today. And all I see is the majority of folks being like, listen, we want to go to the party. We want to smoke some weed. We want to buy some Jordans, get my nails done, my hair done. Oh, something's going on at the Capitol. Oh, the Democrats told us to vote for them. Okay, let's go vote for the Democrats and then continue to go get my hair done, my nails done, some rims, and that's it. That's all we're doing. So if we want better, if we keep saying like, oh, we would have done, I don't see you doing it today. So let's stop that. I believe in us. I believe we can do it. Now we have to put the action in place and go out here and do it, right? We have to do it. We have to be intentional with our money, with our behavior, and with what we're asking for. Otherwise, we're going to keep same circle.
Yep.
We're going to be here 20 years from now, having the same conversation.
Yeah. We didn't have the power to really stop what we did what we could when we were being lynched physically.
Right.
Now we're being legislatively lynched, and we're still kind of just sitting there.
Right.
And it just takes a few people to say like, nah, because at least this way we still get to fight. It sucks, but we can still fight. Hey, we can still fight, y'all. So I'm gonna wrap this up real quick because I got to get up out of here. But I got Kelyn Lanier of the Alloy Group on here. He's been fighting for us down at the Capitol for a lot of the different things for Black folks here in the state of Colorado, as well as just the average citizen here in Colorado too. So he's helping Black people and white people and everybody else. All right. But great time with Kelyn today. I want you to make sure that if you have a business, you go to this OEDIT program, dropped it in the chat. It's in the chat there. Take 60 seconds to fill out that form so you can get free business technical assistance, consulting help
okay, is what that is, to help you get your business right so that you can go out here and get some funding so that you can build your business bigger, better, faster, stronger, whatever it is that you're doing. You need to hire some people, you need, marketing, you need operations stuff, buy some equipment, expand, whatever. Go ahead and get in contact with them so he can help you with that. We also got the blackout weekend starting off in June here, June 5th, with the Black Golf Tournament, the Drive and Thrive Golf Tournament. It's going to support 2 youth organizations, the Colorado Botillion Cotillion. So proceeds are going to be split between them, as well as the I program, which is Empowering Youth Economic Program. So those 2 programs we're raising money for through the golf tournament, the Drive and Thrive Golf Tournament. That is in the link or in the chat as well. And then you have the Black Economic Success Trust Summit on June 6th. And then you have the Back in the Day soiree on June 7th, which is Saturday. And then there is a business brunch on that Sunday, June 8th, all part of the blackout weekend by the Black Economic Success Trust. Links are in the chat. And if you want to go check out the unsecured Black Caucus website, hopefully you don't get a virus going there. You can do so. I threw that in there. It does say Black Democratic Legislative Caucus of Colorado. So hopefully they'll change that one of these days and be more inclusive of all Black people. At least let it sound that way. Kelyn, any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
I don't know. I just I can't stress enough how accessible it is. I know we got to work, but we got to make it easier to work too. So it's worth the time. If we can find time to just sit and do Netflix, we can find time for this. And I would just encourage everybody to find that. Look for Mountain State Civil Rights Watch. We're still just building a lot of the back end, so we're quiet right now, but you will see our effect come primary season and maybe some recalls, and who knows. And just know that it's for us. So
that's what's up. Awesome. Well, hey, y'all, again, like and share the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. The Black Friday show has done it again. We'll catch y'all next Friday. Peace.